fresh out the womb. I think I came out of the womb with a pencil and eraser. Yeah, been drawing ever since.
Karl Marx has this concept called species being, and the idea is that all human beings have at kind of their essence, which I don't like talking about human essences or like summarizing all human beings as having some sort of universal, because I think human beings are all pretty different and then we have patterns of existence. But he argues that deep down we all have a kind of creative urge. All human beings have an urge to make things.
Art is taking what's inside you and letting other people see that.
There's nothing like what we do with this. It's everything is fresh, everything is new.
It's just another version of storytelling for me, in my case, because like I write novels and I write comic books, and each one is its own different medium. So it's just which medium best serves the story that I'm trying to tell, and that's the art that I go with. I go with a more visual one like a comic book or just an actual literary prose novel. I guess art for me is like just how I can use it to tell my story.
People need to express themselves, and sometimes they find some genre that it pre-exists them and some artistic community that they can insert themselves into and be a part of.
Someone's personal art, to me, is an expression of emotion or mood, a showing of opportunity to generate thought in others and consideration in others.
People have some deep motivation, or they are seeking some deep motivation. Sometimes I think people do have deep underlying motivations that send them into a creative career, or they need to get something out. There's some deep underlying issue that they want to express that they can't in words or in dance or something. They find, well, I guess dance is an artistic medium too, obviously, but
the audience of comic books ranges quite dramatically, so the art can express many different things depending on the audience that you're targeting it to.
Art's constantly changing. I mean, if you look at representations, one of my favorite things, there are memes all over my door here in my office. Images of like rabbits from the medieval ages. If you've never Googled them, it's worth Googling. They look insane. They have no eyelids and they're always murdering people. So art changes over time, it develops.
I'm not trying to brag or cocky, but whenever I do talk to people on a certain level, I can really listen to what they want on a piece of paper. So I would draw strictly from what they want, detail from detail.
When I was a little kid, if there was an action figure they didn't make, I would custom paint it and make my own. Or if there wasn't a play set or something, I'd put cardboard boxes together and build like my own. So this right here is just kind of like my way of stuff that's not out there, just making my own versions of it.
Particularly digital media is changing the ways in which people do art and the ways in which people get access to art, right? If you were someone who created a mixtape in the 1980s, and you then sent that out to a few people could get access to it. If you're a SoundCloud rapper now, you can put anything that you produce, upload it, and people can get access to it, hypothetically.
I interviewed at both Marvel and DC out of college to try to get jobs in their promotion sales departments because I was a communications major in college, advertising, public relation. I wanted to be a writer, but I also was well aware that you don't go to college to be a writer, and you don't graduate and go, oh, they're looking to hire a writer. They're just, novelist wanted is not a classified ad you saw, So I figured, let me get into a field that gives me an opportunity to both write and make connections to get a chance to write.
It's rising above the level of conversation. It's paying attention to itself as artistic expression. Richard Bauman, a folklorist, would describe it as someone's taking responsibility to an audience. So it imagines that there is an audience in some sense. So if you paint a painting, or you make a video game, or you get a tattoo, or whatever, all of those things are meant to stand apart from or in relief to the flow of everyday life.
Mort was telling me that he used to go to the movies, because remember, their magazines were expensive. He would go to the movies with pad, and he would draw and concentrate on drawing hands. So when he went to try out for the comic books, they went, wow. So he tackled what was hard for him.
My very first original character, SZA, because I started on her in 2011, just a regular sketch at work, and it was just a picture of a green eye with some white curly hair, and I developed that concept into a whole full character. I mean, we're in 2020 now, and every year my art has always gone back to developing that character, giving her new abilities. She's the only character I've really given like a full story to. So if she, and that's one of my goals for this year, is to really get her on some type of form of platform where she's known as a like a actual, character. Like if that takes off, and I'm really hoping this year that it is, then there is really big possibilities for her to be in comics and animations and a lot more, even merch, shirts, posters, everything. So yeah. That's another thing that touched me. I actually have a friend who seen one of my art pieces, and she messaged me right after. I wasn't even finished. I just posted up a little bit of this picture, and she messaged me immediately, and she was just like, whenever you're done with that picture, I want that tattooed on my body.
The audience of comic books ranges quite dramatically, so the art can express many different things depending on the audience that you're targeting it to.
Still dive into chibis because of that childlike feel that it always brings. Everybody wants to always, go back to the good days of their childhood and just the fun, small, cute, enjoyable things, so yeah.
For me, it was drawing beautiful women. I had a hard time with that, but I had to learn because, Disney princesses, right? I mean, I had to learn, right? And so that became the thing that, that pushed me.
What classifies a person as a professional? To me, a professional person is somebody who continues to improve on their skill and strive on their skill and everything. Being a professional doesn't mean that you have to have 10,000 followers or you have to make so much money and everything. Art is my profession. I consider I'm not perfect in no way, shape, or form. I still have so much more to master my craft and everything because my styles change constantly, but I do consider myself as a professional artist.
Personal art is still always going to be a wide variety of of impressions being drawn from it. I can go through a museum and look at paintings that are across several hundred years, and all of them are going to elicit different emotions out of me. Some none at all, you know, and some tremendous ones. So to me, that kind of art is still completely open and viable for a validation of anyone's individual interpretation of it.
For younger kids who are, you know, worried about what other people think, I just try to tell them don't, because your art, hopefully your art is for you, you know, unless you're doing a commission and everything, but your art should always be for yourself and the message that you're trying to give out to somebody.
You want to work for Disney? Send it to Disney. Why aren't you sending it to Disney?
Oh man, I don't know.
Oh, come on.
Do not stop. Do not stop. Mostly hone your skills, because if you're putting out good work, people are going to see it and they're going to respond to it.
I just wrote a miniseries for Marvel that's starting in May, The Juggernaut. It's Marvel's job to sell it in the direct market. It's my job to make my potential readers aware of it.
I would say never be afraid to express yourself through art, because you're always going to criticize yourself as an artist, especially when you get better.
Art is imagination made real. Art is to be able to take something out of your own subconscious or something that you can envision within your mind's eye and make it three-dimensional, like actually put it in a form.
It's a creation, man. I mean, to me, art is about expressing oneself, about expressing what you see around you, what is internally within you, and I think it's the most beautiful thing of all that we have. I mean, because with art you are creating, and I think that's what we are absolutely all intended to do, was create, because we are creators.
If you're an artist who chooses not to show your work, then really it's just a personal expression for yourself. And that's fine too, but you're not sharing it with the world, so therefore then you'll never have an idea of what the world's perception of your art is.